Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I will be tracking a major winter storm bringing heavy snow and a severe weather outbreak across the country, as well as an Arctic blast from late January into early February of 2023, and then a winter battle zone will be setting up to begin February with big snowstorms and more severe weather going into the beginning of the month. If you guys here are looking outside the door this morning, we are watching for some snowfall across northwestern Texas, and that will be spreading across the southern plains here. This is the visible satellite imagery. Definitely seeing some precipitation falling across portions of New Mexico, the panhandle of Texas, and western portions of Oklahoma, and that will be spreading through the deep south and across portions of the southern plains through the day today. In fact, we have a very large swath of winter weather alerts here from New Mexico through the panhandle of Texas, up through Oklahoma, the Missouri Valley, and on up into the Ohio Valley today, where we have these purple shaded colors. That is a winter weather advisory. And then these pink shaded colors, that's where we expect our more significant snow, with actually those winter storm warnings being in effect. Then we have wind alerts farther to the south. We have high wind watches, wind advisories, and high wind warnings down here with that low level mass response out ahead of this storm system. We're going to see lots of strong surface winds, wind gusts that could be over 50 miles per hour in some of these high wind watches and high wind warnings later on today. Looking at the snapshot of the picture today, we have all that precipitation across Texas, Oklahoma, and much of the deep south, including that severe weather potential and the heavy snowfall potential as well on the northwestern side of this low pressure system. But if you guys are joining me this morning, definitely don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button down below. You hit the subscribe button to get all of my daily weather forecast updates every single day on this channel. Hit the like button to help get all of this weather information out to more and more people, so I definitely appreciate that. We're on the road to hitting 25,000 subscribers, so each and every one of you hit the subscribe button and the like button down below, and that goes a long way with helping me get to 25,000 subscribers out there. But we have some serious weather to talk about today. The Storm Prediction Center has a level 3 of 5, an enhanced risk of severe weather across coastal Texas, getting into coastal Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and the northwestern side of the Florida Panhandle here, right along the immediate Gulf Coast, including the Houston area, over here into New Orleans, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and Mobile, Alabama as well. Those are the areas highest at risk for severe weather later on today. In fact, we actually have a 10% hatched area for significant tornadoes, those EF2 or stronger type of tornadoes along the immediate Gulf Coast later on today. Also that 15 to 30% shading for wind that could be over 60 miles per hour, and then a lower end threat for maybe some quarter to $half size hail, especially across coastal Texas as we head through later on today. That spreads farther east as we head into Wednesday. Tomorrow on January 25th, we have the slight risk for severe weather now across portions of southeastern Virginia, getting into the eastern Carolinas, southern portions of Georgia, southeastern Alabama, and northern Florida. This does include the Myrtle Beach area, getting over toward Columbia, South Carolina, Macon, Georgia, and then down here through the Tallahassee region as we head through the day on Wednesday. So let's track this over the next couple of days. This is noon time frame today. We have the solid squall line starting to take shape across eastern Texas, bringing the heavy rain threat, but also the threat for damaging winds, large hail, and yes, a few tornadoes are definitely possible down here near Corpus Christi, getting up toward the Houston area, so do be on the lookout for that. As that presses east through the afternoon, we're going to see that solid squall line march its way on east as well into Louisiana, places like Monroe, Lafayette, getting into Baton Rouge, Louisiana, some of these areas near the dinner time frame. This is 6 o'clock this evening. We're definitely going to be seeing those storms rumbling east, bringing damaging winds over 60 miles per hour. Large hail that could be quarter to $half size, and yes, a few tornadoes. One or two of these storms ahead of the main line do need to be watched for some strong tornado potential through the evening. As this presses to the east, again, the tornado threat will continue along with the damaging winds, large hail overnight. This is 3 a.m. into Wednesday morning. That will continue through the morning on Wednesday to the noon time frame, now spreading across the Carolinas, southern portions of Georgia, and northern Florida before exiting the east coast as we head toward mid mid to late Wednesday evening. The reason why we're seeing this is we have a fairly potent mid-level jet in the 500 millibar layer rounding the base of this trough around 70 to 80 knots. This is going to help that damaging wind potential with that momentum from the mid-levels moving down toward the surface. And more importantly, that low-level jet here in the 850 millibar layer is very intense for this time of year, especially across the Gulf Coast here into portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama here later on today and tonight. That's around 70, even 75 knots at times across these areas. So some strong long track tornadoes are definitely possible out ahead of the main line. So do be on the lookout for that. These could be nocturnal tornadoes, so you want to have multiple ways to get warnings. But just without the severe weather potential as it is, we have heavy winds down across the deep south, winds that could be over 50 miles per hour. These are your potential maximum wind gusts later on today with those wind advisories, those high wind watches and warnings down across the Gulf Coast. We're going to have some strong surface winds out ahead of this low pressure system, so do be on the lookout for that. But on the northwestern side of this system, we're going to be pulling in some colder air. You can see these blues and whites starting to wrap in onto the northwest side of this low pressure system into the panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma, and farther to the north. And this energy is going to be peeling its way out of the Four Corners region across northern Texas, southern portions of Oklahoma near the Red River, and then that will be pushing up into the western Ohio Valley as we head through the middle of this week on Wednesday, January 25th. So let's track the snowfall potential here. We got snowfall flying across Amarillo, down into Midland and Lubbock, Texas around the morning hours. That will spread east and northeastward into the Oklahoma City metro area, more Oklahoma, and then getting north and east from there into Tulsa as well. That's around that 3 o'clock time frame. Meanwhile, we have severe weather on the other side of the state here. So meanwhile, we have severe weather in East Texas, but in Northwest Texas, we could be seeing several inches of snow. Just amazing out there. And then as we head through this evening, that snow will be spreading up across Tulsa, getting into northwestern Arkansas and the Missouri Valley, with some heavier snows up there around that midnight time frame. So we're looking at the total snowfall accumulation from now through Wednesday. We could be talking about several inches piling up here from the panhandle of Texas through Oklahoma into northwestern Arkansas and even southern Missouri, a widespread swath of about 4 to 8 inches of snow down here, including the Amarillo area, getting into Oklahoma City, and then up across the northwestern side of the Little Rock area, and then some heavier amounts approaching 8 or 9 inches potentially, getting into southern portions of Missouri. That will continue as we head through Wednesday morning around that 6 o'clock time frame. Some of that snow will be spreading up into Illinois, portions of Chicago, getting down to Peoria, Springfield, Illinois, Indianapolis, and then spreading east from there toward Detroit, north central portions of Ohio, and western Pennsylvania as well. As we go into 3 o'clock now on Wednesday, January 25th, all of the snow will be spreading up farther to the north and east, including much of the Great Lakes region, interior New England, and again, the heavier rain and severe weather threat will extend farther south across the Virginia area, getting through portions of the Carolinas and southern Georgia by 3 o'clock. And then this system will slowly be exiting out of the United States into eastern Canada as we head into the day on Thursday, especially by the time we get into Thursday morning and around the midday time frame, with all that snow spreading up into Maine and portions of Quebec, Canada during that time frame. So looking at the total snowfall accumulation from now all the way through late week on Thursday, January 26th, a solid significant swath of heavy snow will be piling up from eastern New Mexico through the panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma, on up through the Missouri, Ohio River valleys, and then into interior New England during that time frame. And specifically looking at the Ohio Valley through Missouri here, we did mention 8 or 9 inches here. Across southern central portions of Illinois, a good solid swath of 3 to 6 inches. That will extend up into portions of Indiana, northwestern and central Ohio, and then on up toward the Detroit region. And then looking at New England here in the northeast, 7 to 8 inches of snow can be a common theme across portions of upstate New York, getting across Vermont, New Hampshire, and western portions of Maine. Even some heavier 3 to 6 inch snows down here into portions of Pennsylvania, getting just to the north of New York City, and then on up here into northern Connecticut. A couple of inches of snow can be expected for the I-95 corridor, but it looks like the heaviest snow will be farther up to the north and west, and this will be causing travel issues all the way from now through Thursday, the 26th time frame, from eastern New Mexico through Texas on up through the Missouri and Ohio River valleys and portions of interior New England, with those minor, if not moderate, impacts and potentially some areas that could get heavier amounts into southern Missouri, northwestern Arkansas. We could have some major travel impacts going through that time frame. But then things take a turn for the more wintry as we get into early February. This is Sunday, January 29th through Thursday, February 2nd. We have some very deep blues showing up in the northwestern United States. This is the Climate Prediction Center's forecast for well below normal temperatures, and this looks to continue through probably even the second week in February. We have that ridge starting to dampen farther south and east, and the reason for this is that polar vortex is disrupted, and this is going to create havoc on the United States and much of southern Canada through the end of this month, and really getting into that first and second week in February. So starting today on Tuesday, January 24th, we have that cold air up to the north. It's bottled up all the way into northern Canada and the Arctics and Siberia today. We have some marginal cold air farther to the south across portions of the lower 48 here as we head through this afternoon. But watch as we head into Friday, January 27th, we start to pull down some of these colder temperatures, those single digits, those negative temperatures farther south into places like northern Saskatchewan, northern Manitoba, and northern Ontario, Canada, getting a little bit closer to that international border there. But as we get in towards the end of the month, the very end of the month, on Tuesday, January 31st, we'll really start to open the floodgates for this polar vortex as we pull it down farther south across the north central plains, the upper Midwest, and portions of the Great Lakes as well. And looking at the temperatures, so today we have the mild air, again, marginal temperatures for snowfall. All the cold air today will be up across Canada or across the Mountain West. As we go into the day on Friday, still cold across the Mountain West, pretty mild across the eastern two-thirds of the country. Farther to the north, we're talking very cold, negative temperatures up here into southern and central Canada, and that extends eastward into southeastern Canada on Friday. But early next week, these are your potential high temperatures. Not an official forecast as of yet, but these are what your high temperatures could be by the time we get to the very end of the month here on Tuesday, January 31st. Yeah, we're talking minus 10, minus 20 degrees up here into southern portions of Canada. That extends across portions of Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. But even across the lower 48 here, the upper Midwest, the northern plains, and the Great Lakes, yeah, minus single digits up here for high temperatures. And then we have that winter battle zone going on here with the temperatures. We have minus temperatures up to the north, but 40s, 50s, and 60s down across the southern plains. And right in between there, we're going to see some very wintry weather, but that's not before we have wind chills that could be well below 20 below zero. We could be seeing 30, if not 40 degrees below zero wind chills as we head into early next week, especially on up here into southern Canada. And I do have a feeling that will be bleeding farther south into the upper Midwest and the northern plains before too long as we get into early on February. Also looks very active during that period, transitioning from late January into the first few days of February. Very active not only across the west, but across the eastern two-thirds of the country. We're going to see lots of these troughs start to dig in across the Pacific Northwest and some Alberta Clipper type systems from Canada diving down around the outer periphery of that polar vortex as it swings across the southern Canada regions here and across portions of the northern United States to end January. And that looks to be a common theme as we begin the month of February here of 2023. A lot of these troughs will be swinging across the United States one after another, and that will be bringing some heavier snowfall potential. In fact, now through early February here, we're going to be pulling down that snow line farther to the south, not only across the Midwest and the northern plains, but as that cold air rushes in, especially getting into that second week in February, that snow line will be moving farther south into Kansas, Missouri, southern Illinois, the Ohio Valley, perhaps even the Tennessee Valley as well. And I do have a feeling that will be extending even farther south, potentially into the deep south, if we have a strong enough push of that cold air into early February, especially getting into that second week in February during that time frame. And I do think we're going to see more heavy snow events, some bigger snowstorms for places that really haven't seen a lot of that snow, with the potential storm track moving into early February across places like the Intermountain West, the upper Midwest, and farther south and east across the Ohio Valley here. And then all that rain and storm activity will be farther south as well, down into Texas and the immediate Gulf Coast and places like Florida with that active storm track. So if you haven't seen a lot of snow yet this winter, we just wait a little bit longer. I promise you by the next couple of weeks, we're going to see the colder air pushing farther south, and that will open up the floodgates for more bigger snowstorms across places that haven't seen them, places like Chicago, Indianapolis, farther south and towards the St. Louis area, even into Kentucky, West Virginia. A lot of these places that haven't seen a lot of snow, you're going to get your fair share of snow, I do think, into early February. So to recap my weather forecast, a major winter storm is on the move this week with heavy snow and severe weather outbreak through the day today and into tomorrow. An Arctic blast will take over into late January, move into early February of 2023, and then that winter battle zone will take over as well with big snowstorms and perhaps some severe weather across the deep south and the Gulf Coast moving into that first and second week into early February. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you liked the video, press the thumbs up down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. A great rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next video.